This was a divided result for a divided country. There are certain things that sort of kind of hew to convention, and so the idea that the president's party loses seats in the House of Representatives is not surprising. It also wasn't surprising that Democrats were unable to make gains in the Senate, just given the particularities of this map. We also shouldn't be surprised that some of the marquee races were as close as they were, or that the outcomes didn't necessarily work in the ways that people would expect. So in states like Georgia and Texas, the fundamentals still privilege Republicans in the state. And so you have to consider the ways that these candidates came close to winning elections, and Georgia's race is still to be decided. And also keep in mind that what that portends is that while diversity might not be destiny yet, it's moving towards that. And so if it doesn't happen this cycle, if partisan conditions remain the way that they are, we could see these states becoming increasingly competitive in years to come as we see more voters of color. And so what Stacey Abrams hopes is that the absentee ballots break for her, and that ends up dragging Brian Kemp's numbers down below 50%, thus forcing a runoff. So a runoff would be a hard position for her to run in, but she's run a campaign where the primary strategy has been intense voter mobilization, and so she hopes to be able to make up the difference in the second round with intense follow-up with her supporters, and perhaps reaching out to new supporters who didn't participate in this particular election. A recount is likely if that's the case, because if there were a recount, the margin would be within 1 percentage point. I think litigation is actually also a possibility. And so people will be looking to see if there looks like there's any systematic evidence that perhaps there are places where votes were suppressed or people were intimidated or discouraged from voting. And I think, it's also possible that there could be a runoff. And so Georgia voters just have to brace themselves for another month of campaigning.